I think one of the most interesting folding phones that got released last year was probably the OPPO Find N, and I am very excited to see what the OPPO Find N2 is going to look like, the sequel to that device. But we got some pretty interesting stuff to drop this morning. The OPPO Find N2 Flip, which takes the, Samsung style folding phone of the Z Flip line, and they're basically putting their own spin on it. And I think that there is at least one really, really smart thing that they're doing here that I cannot wait to see how it pans out. So what we have here is this video that was posted to Twitter 18 hours ago. Let's take a look at this now. And the first thing you're going to notice is that this thing is in this ridiculous looking case. And yes, that is very, very likely meant to disguise the appearance of the device. I don't think this is a case you're going to actually buy. This is a fairly common practice with these sorts of phones where they're being tested perhaps, but they don't want just anybody to be able to see exactly what's going on underneath this case. So it is being hidden, but you can see here this is a pretty standard size and dimension screen. I don't think it's quite as narrow as the Z Flip line. We're going to talk about some specs that have leaked as well here in just a moment. Let's roll this thing forward and maybe we can see a couple of more details. There is a side-mounted fingerprint scanner. It appears to be power button and side-mounted fingerprint scanner, so no in-display fingerprint scanner. I like that. I think that's smart. And then a volume rocker set up there at the top. As we fold the thing over, though, I think, boom, there is some cool stuff going on here. A couple of very large cameras, which do appear to be larger than what are on the Flip. Definitely a more noticeable camera setup there. But then, look at that cover display, and it should turn on here in a second. Boom, look at that. That is a massive, massive cover display when compared to what Samsung has with the Flip line. Do we see anything else on the other side here? No, it looks like it is pretty much blank. But again, look at that cover display. And when you compare that to what Samsung has on their device, that is, I would say, a rather large upgrade. But there's a really smart aspect to this. Look at the aspect ratio of that cover display. Does that not just look like a phone screen just shrunk down? So that means, theoretically, anything that could run on your phone screen should run just fine on that screen. Hopefully, they'll open up the door to that and literally treat this like a true cover display that isn't just going to be, sure, you're going to have your widgets and stuff custom for that. But I mean, again, you could just run your phone apps on that if you absolutely wanted to. So the flexibility there should be really impressive. And it theoretically could be the first device of its sort that can really take what Moto did with the Razr and really one-up that. And maybe you could even call it dethroning what Motorola did with the Moto Razr in terms of that cover display. But we do have some specs down here that I can sort of talk through. I'll try to have this thing on screen as well. Maybe we'll just let this play. So it is a 6.8-inch display as far as the primary screen. The cover display is 3.26 inches. That is very, very large. Side-mounted fingerprint scanner, like I mentioned. They're using an IMX766 50-megapixel primary camera as well as an IMX355 8-megapixel ultra-wide. So the ultra-wide, a little bit not great, but that 50-megapixel primary should be pretty decent. OPPO's camera software has been getting better and better over the years, so the camera performance should be fairly decent, and on paper, it should be able to hang with what Samsung has done on their cameras on the Flip series. A 32-megapixel hole punch selfie camera, which you can see in the very beginning here. Maybe you really can't. Well, you can. It's kind of visible down there. In the black background. It is going to be rocking a Dimensity 9000 Plus chip, so they're not going Snapdragon, no Qualcomm here. Now, keep in mind, if you're thinking, oh man, that's going to be a bad thing, these Dimensity chips have actually been really, really good as of late, so I don't actually think that's going to be a problem at all. The biggest thing, back in the day was the image processing pipeline, but these Dimensity chips are getting pretty good at that stuff, so we'll have to wait and see exactly how all these things pan out, right? Wait for reviews on these things, but it should be okay. A 4,300 milliamp hour battery is massive for this thing. That is a really, really big battery for a folding phone of this size. It's way bigger than what Samsung has in the Z Flip. Yeah, the Flip is only 3,700 milliamp hours, so we've jumped up a considerable amount. 600 milliamp hours larger in terms of battery, and then 44-watt charging, so it is faster to charge as well. Now, just like I talked about in the video about the Find N2, like the tablet folding phone, we don't necessarily know when this thing is going to release, but best indication is probably an unveiling in mid-December. Price is kind of unknown, and then the launch regions are also somewhat unknown, although there were reports months ago that OPPO was going to look to do a more global release for these two devices. What does that mean for North America? Hard to say at this point, but if theoretically it can at least come to the EU, it's going to make importing it potentially a little bit easier. But we're going to have to wait and see exactly what happens there. Hopefully, we won't have to wait too much longer because it is now December. And like I said, best indications are mid-December for an unveiling of this pretty neat looking flip phone. Guys, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button before you leave. I'll see you on the next one. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.